The old lighthouse keeper, Alistair, used to say the island breathed. He'd say it over a dram of whiskey, his voice a low rumble like the shifting shingle on the shore. He'd tap his temple, a knowing, unsettling glint in his eye. It breathes and it remembers. We'd dismissed it as the ramblings of a man too long in the company of seabirds and solitude. Now, stranded with the ferry, a distant canceled dream due to the sudden violent storm, his words echoed in the silence, a far more chilling sound than the wind howling outside our small rented cottage. There were three of us, me, Liam, and Chloe. We'd been friends since university, a trio bound by shared memories and a comfortable, easy shorthand. Liam, ever the pragmatist, was already trying to fix the generator, his brow furrowed in concentration. Chloe, a bundle of nervous energy, was pacing the worn floorboards, her silhouette a frantic dance in the flickering lamplight. And me? I was watching the window, watching the rain lash against the glass, and thinking of Alistair. The island was small, a speck of granite and gorse off the coast, accessible only by a single ferry that ran twice a week, weather permitting. We'd come for a digital detox, a week away from the relentless hum of the city. No phones, no internet, just the sea, the sky, and each other. It had seemed idyllic. The first oddity was the photograph. Tucked away in a dusty-smelling book on local folklore, we found a faded picture of three people standing in front of our very cottage. A man and two women, their faces grim, their clothing from a bygone era. What was unsettling was their uncanny resemblance to us. The man had Liam's broad shoulders and serious expression. One woman shared Chloe's slight frame and wild dark hair. The other, she looked like me, right down to the small crescent-shaped scar on her left eyebrow. Liam, of course, had a logical explanation. Coincidence, he'd said, his voice a little too quick, a little too dismissive. People's faces repeat over generations, but he couldn't explain the shared scar. That night the dreams started. Not nightmares in the traditional sense, full of monsters and mayhem. These were quiet, insidious things. I dreamt I was standing on the cliff edge, the wind whipping my hair, and I could feel the phantom sensation of a hand on my back, gently, insistently, pushing me towards the churning sea below. I woke up with my heart pounding, the scent of salt water sharp in my nostrils. The next morning, Chloe was withdrawn. She'd spent the night on the sofa, and she claimed she hadn't slept a wink. She said she kept seeing a face at the window, a pale, gaunt face with hollow eyes. Liam checked the muddy ground outside. There were no footprints. The tension in the cottage began to thicken, a palpable entity. Our easy camaraderie frayed, replaced by a growing suspicion. Liam, for all his pragmatism, started triple-checking the locks on the doors and windows. Chloe refused to be alone, her eyes darting nervously around every room. And I found myself drawn back to the book of folklore, to the story of the Silky Wife. The tale told of a Selkie, a mythical creature who could shed her sealskin to walk on land as a human. A local fisherman had stolen her skin, trapping her in human form. He'd married her, and they'd had children. But she was never truly happy, her heart forever yearning for the sea. The story ended ambiguously, with the Selkie finding her hidden skin and returning to the waves, leaving her family behind. The book noted a local legend that her ghost and those of her abandoned daughters still haunted the island, forever searching for a way to be whole again. That afternoon, while foraging for firewood, Liam found it. Tucked away in a small hidden cove, in a crevice between two large moss-covered rocks, was an old, rotting wooden chest. Inside, bundled in oilcloth, was a sealskin. It was surprisingly well preserved, soft and supple, the fur a deep, mesmerizing black. When Liam brought it back to the cottage, a strange and unsettling change came over Chloe. Her nervous energy dissipated, replaced by a serene, almost predatory calm. Her gaze was fixed on the sealskin, a flicker of something ancient and unknowable in her eyes. "It's mine," she whispered, her voice a low, guttural sound that didn't belong to her. Liam, ever the voice of reason, tried to placate her. "Chloe, it's just an old piece of—" He couldn't finish the sentence. As he reached for the skin, Chloe lunged, snatching it from his grasp. She clutched it to her chest, her eyes blazing with a fierce, possessive light. That night, the storm reached its zenith. The wind shrieked like a banshee, and the waves crashed against the cliffs with the force of a battering ram. The power, which Liam had so diligently restored, went out again, plunging us into an oppressive darkness, broken only by the occasional terrifying flash of lightning. And in the heart of the storm, Chloe began to change. Her movements became fluid, graceful, almost inhuman. She no longer spoke, but communicated with a series of clicks and low whistles that sent a shiver down my spine. She would stand by the window for hours, her silhouette framed by the lightning, her gaze fixed on the raging sea. Liam, his pragmatism shattered, was terrified. "This isn't her," he whispered to me, his voice trembling. "This is something else." I knew he was right. The woman who looked like Chloe, the woman who wore her face, was a stranger. The story of the silky wife, the photograph, the dreams, it was all weaving together into a horrifying tapestry. We were not the first trio to be caught in this island's web. The final morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind an eerie, preternatural calm. The sea was a sheet of glass, the sky a bruised purple, and Chloe was gone. The front door was wide open, swinging gently in the morning breeze. The sealskin was gone with her. We found her footprints in the damp sand, leading down to the water's edge. They were human at first, but then slowly they began to change. The stride lengthened, the shape distorted, until they were no longer human at all. The final prints before the water were the unmistakable tracks of a seal's flippers. Liam and I stood on the shore, the silence broken only by the gentle lapping of the waves. We were two now, the balance of our friendship irrevocably broken. We scanned the horizon, hoping, praying for a sign. A boat, the ferry, anything. Then we saw it. A sleek, dark head breaking the surface of the water, far out in the bay. It turned to look at us, and for a fleeting, heart-stopping moment, I thought I saw Chloe's eyes, filled with a cold, ancient sadness. Then, with a flick of its powerful tail, it was gone, diving deep into the silent, unforgiving embrace of the sea. We were rescued later that day, the returning ferry a jarring intrusion into our new, silent world. We told the authorities that Chloe had been swept away by the storm, a tragic accident. They believed us. What other explanation was there? But Liam and I know the truth. We know that the island breathes, and it remembers. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, and the sea is a certain shade of gray, I think I can hear a low, mournful song on the breeze, the lament of a soul forever caught between two worlds, and I am terrified that one day the island will call for me too. I am terrified that it remembers my face.